Hi everybody, and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie, excited to share with you a compilation video today. This is all of my minis with the unveiling. So if you missed my little Christmas village, my winter village, here it is for you all together in one video. I hope you enjoy it. Please give me a big thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed, I hope you'll consider doing so. And here we go with the video. I have a bunch of styrofoam balls from the Dollar Tree, as well as just a little leftover container from something I don't even remember what it's from. And I am going to be using one of each of these three sizes of styrofoam balls. I also have a skewer here, and I cut off the point, and then I was like, why did I do that? But I made it work. So I'm just attaching all of my little balls together. I'm sure you can tell we are making a snowman, and just using a little bit of hot glue just to give it a little bit more security with the skewer. It's probably not even necessary to do this, but I just decided to do that. And then if I had to do it over again, I probably would have flattened out the balls between the largest and the middle one where they met, just to make it look a little bit more natural, because my snowman's got a really skinny waist now, but it was fine. He's still super cute. So now I'm coming in with my ARTEZA black paint marker, and I love these markers. They're fantastic. And I made his little face and his buttons. And now using a chenille stem, I am going to fashion him a hat. So working on the top part of the hat, which I think is called the crown. I think one of my subscribers let me know that it's called the crown of the hat. And just using some hot glue to secure it, and adding on another chenille stem because I wanted to make it a little bit taller. And once I got it to where I wanted it, I trimmed that off. And then I used the rest of that to fashion what will be the brim of the hat, and I ended up making it into like a donut shape. So you can see it there, using some more hot glue to glue the top part on. And then I wanted to have a little red trim. I thought maybe a chenille stem, but it was too fat, so I ended up just using a piece of felt. So just trimmed off a little strip of the felt, securing it to my little hat, trimming off the excess, and just gluing the rest of that down with a little bit of hot glue. And then using some hot glue on the inside of it and securing it to his little head. So there he is, so cute. So taking my felt again, and I am cutting like a weird shaped U, and it's thinner up where it'll be his neck part, and then it got wider towards the bottom, and this is going to be his scarf, obviously. Tying that around his neck, and then I'm going to come in with my scissors, and I'm just going to cut the ends a little bit to provide fringe for his scarf. Just make his scarf really cute. And now I have some leftover pieces from a wreath I made last week. These are little twig-like picks from the Dollar Tree, and they look like they have snow on them. So I thought they'd be really super cute to use for our snowman. So just sticking them in the styrofoam. I did end up cutting that at a little bit of an angle. I found it was a little, these picks are not super stiff, so I was having a little bit of trouble getting it through the styrofoam, and here I just used my skewer tip for that. And it actually worked out well that I cut off the tip of that skewer, because I ended up being able to use it for his nose. So that's what I'm going to do now. And I am going to use my ARTEZA paint marker again. I'm just trying to decide what color I want there. And this is a nice carrot orange color. And so I just went ahead and painted the whole tip of the skewer. And once it was dry, I cut it down to size. And then I just tucked that right into his face. Cute little guy. So for that base, that little cup that I have, I am covering it with Mod Podge and then using my iridescent white glitter that I picked up from Walmart a while back. I just thought it looked like snow. So, and it gave me my little bling that you guys know I love. So using some hot glue, I'm just going to secure him in there, and this is going to help our little snowman to be able to stand up on his own. He's super sweet. Now you could leave him like that, but I decided to give him a little bit of a sign. So I'm using my green cardstock again, and I'm just cutting it down. These were probably about a 1/2 inch by 3/4 of an inch. And I'm using my ARTEZA white paint marker. Again, I really love these markers. And I do still have a coupon code for you guys in my description box. It's good through the end of October if you have any interest. And then I am using my little letters on another piece of baker's twine. This time it's green and white. And using a teeny tiny little dab of hot glue to secure these on, and doing this on a piece of parchment paper, and the hot glue did not stick to the parchment paper. I was able to pull it right up, which you'll see right now. So it was perfect. So he's got his little sign, "Let it snow," and I'm just fastening it to his little hands, and he is good to go. So here we go. I've got 2 calendars for this one, as well as some floral wire. I also have a little drawer pull and a skewer from the Dollar Tree. This is the Be Brave calendar and the Simply Blessed calendar, and I'm just cutting out those 2 little images in the bottom corners. One is the Peace on Earth, and the other, I'm honestly trying to remember what it says, because again, I'm doing this late at night and I'm a little brain dead, so forgive me. We will see it momentarily, but I am trimming these down to be the same size, and we are going to be making like a little street sign. Oh, and so here is what I'm doing, you guys. If you watched my last video and you saw my little snowman, and you know, I just have to say thank you to all of you who commented on that last video. I am still making my way through all of the comments. I am just so humbled and overwhelmed, and just, I feel the love. So thank you so much. I appreciate every single one of you. I will make it through all of the comments. If you've not heard from me yet, you will. So thank you for your patience. But that little snowman is going to be he was the kickoff to the series. I'm going to be doing little miniatures for a complete Christmas village over the course of the next several weeks. So if we do each of these projects over the course of the weeks, in the end, we will have our own little Christmas village or snow village, whatever you want to call it. So I just used some double-sided tape to secure the 2 little calendar pieces, because I'm making a double-sided sign. So this is going to be like a little street sign. A word to the wise, again, learn from my mistakes. If I had to do it again, I would not have sealed them yet. I would have waited until I was ready to add my little hangers on to my little sign, and then I would have sealed it all together. So I was able to recover it, but it just would have been a lot easier if I'd done it the other way. So I'm using my floral wire, and I am kind of bending it around, and I think I did zoom in here in a minute for you so you could see a little bit better what I'm doing. But I curved the piece around on the end, and then I'm going to take my wire so you can see that a little bit. It's kind of like a little curly Q on the end. And then I'm going to take my wire cutters, and I'm figuring out exactly how long I want it to be. And then I'm going to cut the other end off, and then I'm going to twist that as well. So my little winter village pieces, all these miniatures, that's going to be one series. And then if you watched the last video, you know that I did a gift idea of bath salts. So I'm also going to be doing gift ideas for each of my videos for the next several weeks as well. So we'll have a whole bunch of gift ideas and a whole bunch of miniatures to either put on a tiered tray, which is what I'm doing with them for right now until I have enough pieces for my snow village and we get a little bit closer to the holidays. And then we'll also be able to use it for our winter village or a Christmas village. So here I came in and I'm trying to attach my little sign holder with hot glue, and that did not work. But just that day I had received from STARBOND some glue, a whole bunch of different glues, and I'm excited to tell you more about them. I will be using them a lot more in upcoming videos. There is a code for that in my description box as well for 10% off if you have interest there, but they are a bunch of different super glues, and you know what, you guys, it worked fantastic. I've never used the STARBOND before this project, and I was really happy to have it because my hot glue was failing me. So you can see right here that I'm peeling off the hot glue because trying to put my little wire on there for my hangers was just not working. So here I am with the STARBOND, and this is the medium. They have medium, they have thick, and then they have thin. So the thin is like watery. I've not tried it yet, but I was reading all the descriptions on these, and they've got these great little nozzles so that you can really get into tight spots with them. It was really fantastic, and it held really well. So more to come on STARBOND in future videos as well. So now I had taken a little tiny piece of wire that I had in my stash, and like I said, if I had to do it over again, I would have attached these first and then sealed the two pieces of the calendar together, because I definitely struggled here a little bit, especially since those wires were so small. I also would have made the wires longer had I not already sealed the calendar together. I was keeping them short purposely here because I knew I only had a little bit of wiggle room to work with at the top of my calendar. So here I'm adding a little bit more of this double-sided tape from the Dollar Tree, which is awesome, you guys. I love that. It's the first time I found it, first time I'm using it, and I really liked it. So I finally got that little sucker in there, and I was able to seal that off. So I'm making it look a lot harder than it really is, but there you are. And I've got my little sign, two-sided. So now I'm going to be dropping that skewer right into the drawer pull where the screw normally would go. And I'm trimming it down. I'm trying to decide how tall I want it. And I'm just taking off a little bit at a time because you can always take off more. You can't add it back on once you cut it. So I get it to a length that I'm happy with, and I just fill it all up with hot glue, and I stick my skewer down inside and just hold it for a moment while the hot glue cools so that it'll stay in place. Now, I hadn't accounted for the weight of the wire when I first tried this. I was like, oh yeah, it's a little top heavy now. So I came in with my Dollar Tree magnets. It didn't stick to this drawer pull because of whatever the material was. It's just not magnetic. So I did use some hot glue to secure that. But then I decided, yeah, it works, but I added another magnet just magnetically, just to be safe. So now I'm coming in with my ARTEZA acrylic paints in Candy Apple Red and Marshmallow White, and again, learn from my mistakes. Had I to do over again, I would have painted it first. I just honestly had been thinking about leaving it the natural wood color, and then ultimately I decided no, I really wanted to have it white, and then I'm going to make my base, no, I'm sorry, I wanted it to be red, and then I'm going to make my base white. So I was just really careful, and the coverage, you know, I'm really enjoying the ARTEZA products, you guys. The coverage with these paints is fantastic. So now I'm coming in with my white, and I did do a couple of coats on the white. I only did one coat on the red, and then I did do a couple of coats on the white. So there you have it. So for this project, we are going to be using some crystal clear resin, and I have never used resin before, so stepping outside the comfort zone on this one. I have some isopropyl alcohol that we are going to have, and I've added some of that to my spray bottle, but I'm keeping the bottle nearby just in case. I have just a plastic solo cup, And then a pair of gloves. You want to make sure that you wear gloves and use your safety goggles if you're going to be working with resin. So I'm putting those on my little head. And then I have a plate. This is just out of my kitchen that I'm going to be using along with some aluminum foil. And then I also have my ARTEZA mica powder. And I'm going to be picking one of the colors out of here. And I was looking for a blue, so I had picked out one blue, and I was looking to see what other colors. There's so many options here. I love it. And then I found that icy blue, and I figured that was going to be the way to go for this. So I'm taking my foil and I'm just covering up my plate. This is really more to protect my plate than anything else, but I also expect that the resin will stick to this because when I read the instructions on it, it said that it actually does work as an adhesive. So you want to keep in mind that it's going to stick to whatever you use. It has a side A, a side B, so the instruction booklet is right there. You want to make sure you read all of those instructions. It comes with some stir sticks. I showed you the little measuring cups before. This is not something for children to be messing with. So really, I would say probably 18 and up is what is probably required for this project. So I'm starting by measuring my part A. So the instructions for this resin require a 1-to-1 ratio. So however much of A we are going to be using, we need to make sure we have the same quantity of B. And this particular brand, and I just picked this up at Michael's, but this particular brand said that when it is mixed properly with the right ratio, it is actually food safe. So I thought that was kind of exciting. I might be able to use it for some other project where I want to paint a surface and then make it food safe by sealing it with this. So I'm excited to think about what I might be able to do with that. But I'm doing 3 of these little cupfuls. I think I determined they were about 1.5 ounces, and I'm doing 3 of them of both the A and the B. Now the A is very thick. You can probably see there it's a gel and it's very thick. I'm trying to scrape it all out of the little container so I can make sure that my measurements are correct. And now I'm coming in with the B, and it's thick as well, but not nearly as thick as the A was. And I'm thinking that this is the activator that activates the resin. So I will get all of this measured out, and then you have to mix it and mix it and mix it some more. So I'm starting to mix it here. And the instructions said to make sure that you mix it until there are no more swirls. Can you see those swirls in there? It looks a little bit cloudy. So I was mixing and mixing until it went clear, and you have to scrape the sides, scrape the bottom. As I mentioned, I've never worked with resin before, so stepping out of my comfort zone on this because some of my sweet subscribers suggested that I create a pond for my little mini series. So as you know, if you've been following my videos, I'm doing a whole bunch of minis to create a Christmas village, and you saw there it started to go clear. Once it is clear and there are no more swirls, it tells you to mix it for another 3 minutes. So I did that, and now I'm adding in my mica powder. And I did end up adding in another spoonful, and I probably could have even added in a little bit more after that, but it still turned out really nice. So I'm pleased with the final effect. And this was really intimidating to me at first, but it really was not difficult. I was a little scared to try with the resin because I just felt like I didn't know what I was doing, but it's really very simple. You just want to make sure you practice safety, wearing your gloves because it is an irritant if you get it on your skin. You clean it up with alcohol, not with water, so that's why I had the alcohol nearby. And then the alcohol is also going to be used. I'm showing you, you've got to wait 10 minutes. And then the alcohol is what I'm using right now. You can't see it because I'm spraying it off screen, but just a fine mist after 10 minutes to pop any bubbles that surfaced. So you want to make sure you're mixing it very slowly to avoid bubbles, and then afterwards you can do it with the alcohol. So now we're gonna wait for 24 hours for it to cure, and then we'll be set. So I'm going to be using some scrap foam core board. I'm going to just be cutting that off. I actually had 2 of these from a project I did way back in the summertime when I did this ship wheel, if any of you remember that. So this is left over from that project, and so it already had the curve, or a little bit of the curve, that I was looking for this next project. So it probably would have been smart to create a pattern, but I felt like I was short on time and I just wanted to get this done. So I am just playing it by ear or eyeballing it, and I'm creating the shape that I would like to have for my bridge. So I'm creating a footbridge, and I cut out the shape that I wanted on the first scrap piece, and then I actually ended up using that as my pattern for the second, just to make sure that everything was going to be symmetrical and the same for both sides of my bridge. And I'm just using a regular Dollar Tree craft knife on my self-healing mat, and the foam core board cuts actually very, very easily with the Dollar Tree craft knife. So I'm just eyeing it, making sure I get it the way I want it. Here I am tracing it out, just using a regular pencil, and then I'm going to cut this one out as well. So once I have both pieces, I'm looking to see how wide I want my bridge, and I decided I wanted it to be about 4 inches. So I pulled another piece of foam core board, and I'm going to measure off a 4-inch strip, and I'm using the full width of the board, and I believe it was, I think it's 20 inches. But I ultimately only estimated that I would need about 17 inches. But I wanted to just make sure that I had more than what I needed, because I can always take it away. It's a lot harder to put it back on once you've cut it off. So now every 1/2 inch or so, and I didn't start off as well as I ended, but every 1/2 inch or so, I'm scoring the board. I am not cutting all the way through here. I am only scoring the top and a little bit into the foam. And the reason for that is now we can pop all of those and we can mold this or curve it the way we want it. So I'm just popping the foam on each of those, and then I'm going to mold it to the shape of my bridge. So trying to figure out how much of it I need. I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess in just a moment. And then I'm going to go through the process of attaching this to the side of my bridge. I'm going to start on either end and just put a little bit of hot glue, and then come in along the sides, working my way into the middle until I get it the way I want it. I just want to make sure that the shape was the way that I wanted it. I won't have to go to so much trouble applying the second piece, because now I've got the curve that I want. So now I'll be able to just run a bead of glue right along the other edge, which I will show you in just a moment. Here we go. So just running a bead of glue all along that edge, and then I'll be able to place the foam core right on top of there and get that all nice and secure. And there we are. Now I'm looking at it now and I'm like, this is a very steep bridge. There is no way a person would be able to climb up the sides of this footbridge. So I decided that I needed to make some steps for either side of it. So I'm just cutting down the pieces of my foam core and going to create some steps. I did this with little 1/2 inch strips. So they are 4 inches because my bridge is 4 inches wide, and then 1/2 inch strips. And I just used my hot glue to piece all of these together. Ultimately, I ended up creating 3 little steps on either side. I'm just using my hot glue to get all of those secure. And once those are all set, I'm going to tuck them into my bridge and then also secure them with some hot glue. It's pretty snug because of the way that I created it, and it's the 4 inch with again, but I did go in and anchor it with some hot glue. And I did the same thing for the other side. And there we go with the hot glue. So then I came in with my Java chalk paint. I thought that those little slats looked like wood planks, so wanted to paint them brown. And then I'm coming in with Mineral by Waverly, and I am just dabbing it on. I'm using one of my little Kleenex hand towels, and I just bunched it up, and I'm dabbing it on because I'm looking for a stone type effect. So I definitely am looking for the black to show through here somewhat. It is not going to be solid coverage. This is all being done purposely. And of course, because I'm me, I have to paint the underside as well, just in case somebody sees the underneath, you know? So I realized that I'm looking at the white, and I decided I'm coming in with my ARTEZA black acrylic paint marker. And it didn't need to be perfect, but I did want there to be quite a bit of the black there so that I would have the same type of effect, even in those sections where it originally had been white. So then I came in and I also dabbed it on in the inside. Of course, I got it on my chocolate, so I did end up going back in and just touching that up. So if you're going to create something like this, I do recommend painting it before you put it together. I just hadn't gotten that far in my thought process. So here I am coming back in with my Java and touching up all of my boo-boos. So there we go. So for this, we're going to use the Joy project that I did last Friday. And you might have noticed that I had a gap in my little roofs, and I knew it at the time. I'd run out of time, and you all were probably thinking, Corie doesn't like to leave things unfinished like that. So you might have been wondering what was up. So we're going to finish that right now with this dowel. I'm painting that black, and I'm going to be cutting that down to fit in that little groove on top of the roofs. So our roofs will be finished. So giving that a good coat. Once it's dry, I'm scoring it with my scissors, and then you can snap it right off. So scoring it again and snapping it right off. And I'm going to do that 3 times so that I have the pieces I need. Then I just sanded the little ends and touched them up with some more black chalk paint. So now once they're all good to go, I'm using my STARBOND glue, my CA glue, which is also known as super glue. This is my thick, and I'm really liking this thick super glue, you guys. It's working really well for me. And as I mentioned before, this little tube is going to last me a long time because you only need 1 little drop for every square inch of your project. So just dabbing on a little bit. I think I used 2 little dots for each of these little dowels. So once those are secure, I am going to be using some popsicle sticks. Now I'm using these colored popsicle sticks because I couldn't find the natural tone ones when I was looking for them at the Dollar Tree. This was all I could find, but I was like, you know what, it's fine, it'll work. I'm going to be painting this black anyway, so I'm going to use the purple ones. And then I thought I was going to use this Dollar Tree string of lights. It ended up not working. There was just too much wire and not enough lights for this tiny little house project. So you can disregard those lights, but it still turned out super cute. So I'm trimming off the ends of my popsicle sticks and making sure that it's going to be about the same width as my little house. And once I had all of those trimmed up, I then also came in and took an extra popsicle stick, which I cut in half, and it was still a little bit too long, so I cut it down a little bit more. I guess I cut it a little less than half, but then I cut another piece the same size, and we are going to be building our porch. So using those 2 smaller pieces to connect the 4 planks that are going to serve as the porch boards, Again, using my super glue, I'm putting a little tiny dot on each of those planks just so that they'll all be attached to the little cross tie board, and doing the same thing with the other side. So now I'm going to build my steps that are going to lead up to our little porch. And again, just teeny dots of the glue. It's almost like the less glue you use, the faster this bonds. I hope that makes sense. The more glue you use, the longer it takes for it to cure. So it really is in your best interest to use just a teeny tiny little bit. And I've been finding that this stuff, once it's cured, it holds really well. So I've been really pleased with it. So I am connecting one of my risers to the porch and then connecting my other steps together, which I will then connect to the porch itself. So once that is all constructed, I line it up with the little house just to make sure that I know how it'll look. And now I'm taking these little skewers and I'm cutting them down, and these are going to serve as the rail posts. And it was flinging everywhere so I brought that other house in. I'm like, I need something to trap these when I cut them because they were just flying. So finally I got smart and started cutting it the other way, so I was holding on to the smaller piece and the bigger piece wasn't flying quite so far. But I've got this laid down sideways on a piece of parchment paper, and I'm using my super glue, my STARBOND, to adhere these. And I'm putting one of these little dowels, they're all exactly the same length. I'm attaching one to each of the floor planks, so each of the popsicle sticks is getting one of these, and then on down the steps as well. Putting this on the parchment paper is going to allow me to pull it up later without it adhering to the parchment. It sticks a little bit, but you can pull it right away and it's not an issue. So now I am taking a shish kebab skewer. These are the larger, thicker ones, and I'm cutting this down to work as my handrails. So now I have my straight edge, I'm lining it up, and the reason I'm doing this is because I do want my handrail to extend out enough so that it butts up against the house also. That's going to help me secure it to the house. So that's why I wanted to make sure it was lined up with the porch floor. So I put a little bit of STARBOND at the tip of each of those little rail posts, and then I attached my handrail, and now I'm measuring the angled part of the rail to see how long it needs to be. And scoring that and snapping it off just like I've done before, and then I'm just making sure that I'm making everything the same length for either side. Remember, I'm going to need two of everything here because I've got a second side of my little porch and staircase that I need to take care of. And look at that, it's turning out super cute already. Cute little railing. So did the same thing to the other side, and you saw I was able to pull it right up off of the parchment paper, and now it's ready to be attached to the house. Isn't that cute? So first I'm going to paint it. Got smart and painted it first. So gave it a good coat of the black chalk paint by Home Decor. Once that was done, I'm coming back in with my STARBOND and I'm going to attach it to the house. And there you go. It's starting to come together nicely, don't you think? So now I am taking what I refer to as a tongue depressor stick. It's like a giant popsicle stick, and I am taking a look at how large I want this to be. This is going to serve as my door. So I'm cutting that down to size, taking a peek at it, and then I thought I wanted to use these yellow popsicle sticks for the molding that goes around my door, But you guys, I swear I painted these with white chalk paint. I must have given it 6 coats of paint and the yellow was still coming through. So do yourself a favor and just make sure you use the natural tone popsicle sticks. I ultimately ended up just cutting down a tongue depressor stick and using my craft knife here with my straight edge. They actually score and break apart really easily. So it wasn't that big of a deal, but if you have the natural popsicle sticks, it'll kind of save you a step. So scoring that where I need it to, and then just snapping it off at the lengths that I need for this purpose. And then I gave it my coat of white chalk paint, and this time I only needed 1 coat. I was really determined before to make it work, and it just wasn't having it. So now I am just checking out how it's going to look here. So I've got my door and my white molding that's going around my door. So now I'm going to come back in with my STARBOND and secure everything to the front of my house. And just a reminder, if you haven't already subscribed, I would love it if you would, and give me a big thumbs up if you're enjoying today's projects. So now I'm coming in with some ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and I wanted to create a little garland. So I'm just identifying where it needs to go, using a little bit of hot glue for this, and pretty much forming it to the shape that I want it to take, if you will. So little bit of glue in the middle I had done, and then at each of the corners, and then I'm going to have it come on down and drape down along the sides of the door, and just place a little bit more hot glue and make it look a little bit flowy. So now I'm pulling out some teeny tiny wood beads. I got this pack from Amazon. It's got a bunch of different sized beads, and I put it on a skewer, and I'm using my ARTEZA silver paint marker to color that silver, and then using a teeny bit of hot glue to secure my little doorknob to my door. Now, you guys, I thought I wanted to make the illusion of the panels that you'll see on a door, so I'm trying to use my ARTEZA paint marker for this, and this was a fail. I knew it wasn't working, so then I'm like, well, maybe I can fill in the panels, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe they can be windows, and ultimately I just filled it in completely because it just was not working with the vision that I had in my head. So I went ahead and filled it in, decided that could be a window. And I know it's not even. I do go back and fix that a little bit later. So now I am taking my tongue depressor sticks again, and I am cutting it down. So I've been scoring it, and then I'll try to snap it a little bit, and then I use my scissors to finish it off. I find that that gives me the smoothest edge. And I'm coming in with my white ARTEZA acrylic paint marker and creating the molding around my windows, and I'm coming in with the yellow ARTEZA paint marker to have my windows look like they're lit up from the inside. And then I came back once that was dry and went back over the edges to clean them up with the white and created my window panes. And then went ahead and secured them again with my STARBOND. You can see I'm just using 2 little dots for these. So now I have this pack from the Dollar Tree of all these cute little trees. It came in a pack of 8, and I am going to put a couple of them on my porch. I really think with these little mini houses, it's the details that make all the difference. So don't be afraid to embellish them. I'm coming back in with some more of the ribbon that we used for the garland, and I am just going to wrap it around my porch railing and my hand railing going down the steps, the way that you might see somebody's house decorated for the holidays. and just using a little bit of hot glue as I go to ensure that it is staying where I want it. And then just trimming that off. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. But look at how cute that is already. So if this is your first time visiting with me, my name is Corie and my channel is Crafted by Corie. I'm really excited that you're here. I hope you'll consider subscribing. I do also have Coffee with Corie on every first Sunday of each month, and just love to visit with all of you. So thank you so much for being here. So back to our houses and on to the second one. This was our O from our Joy project. I have a couple of the tumbling tower blocks as well as some more tongue depressors. I'm showing you the mineral chalk paint. So I'm going to give our little stoop a coat of the mineral here. And then I'm going to cut down the tongue depressor sticks the way that I did the last time. And for this one, I wanted to create a double door. So also created my molding as well, gave the molding a coat of white, and then I used Elephant chalk paint by Waverly for the doors. Using my CA glue again to put everything together. I adhered my stoop together and then adhered it to the house, and then I made sure it was upright on the table so that it was all flat and the same, so it would lay flat basically when it's standing up on a flat surface. And as if I didn't learn the first time, I'm coming back in, trying to create those panels, this time with a really fine paintbrush. I told y'all I'm not a great fine painter. You've been really, really kind to me with your comments on my painting, but yeah, this is proof that I'm not a fine artist. So painted over that because it just wasn't working, and because I just can't get this whole door panel thing out of my head, I actually physically cut them down with some more of the tongue depressor sticks. I adhered them with my CA glue, and now I painted them over. So now I've got that illusion of the panels on my door. So now I'm starting to attach everything. I've got my molding down, at least the bottom part of my molding, and now I'm coming in with my doors. And then I will wrap the rest of the molding around it as well. Just using a little bit of CA glue for each of these, the STARBOND. So now I have two of those little wooden beads on my skewers, and I used the copper or bronze, I think it's actually bronze, ARTEZA chalk paint, and I created a couple more windows just as I had done before. Attached my little doorknobs to my handles, to my doors. And now I'm coming in with a star. This, my sister actually picked these up for me at Michael's, and I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's 99 cents for a pack of 5 of these little stars. And I am painting it with the silver ARTEZA acrylic paint marker. It's a mouthful, but I love these paint markers. I've been using them quite a lot, and I've really been enjoying them. And now I'm just coming in with a fine point marker to write joy to the world. And I'm going to attach that to the top of my little house. Super sweet. I'm loving these little miniatures. Give me a thumbs up if you're loving the miniatures too, and let me know what you think so far. So now I am cutting down some more foam core. My thought here is that I'm going to create just a little bit of the front yard or front landscape for this little home. So once I had it largely cut to the shape that I wanted, I went ahead and secured it with some hot glue. And now I'm coming in with my Java chalk paint, creating the little flower beds on either side, and then a path. And then I'm coming in with my green chalk paint on either side, thinking this is the grass. Now, I know it's a winter village, and I haven't done anything with this yet, but I do have plans to make it look snowy, so bear with me for the final reveal. Not today, but once I have this whole village pulled together. So I used little half circle wood rounds, if you will, to create little cobblestones, and I'm coming in and painting those with the mineral as well. And I did go back in and fill in some of those gaps and paint it again. So here we go with the third house. So cutting down my little, or I did cut down my little depressor stick again, and I am creating a different type of door. So you know those doors that have the arched windows at the top? That's what I'm doing here. And I thought I was going to make this door red, and then afterwards I decided, no, I want it blue. So I came back in with my blue sapphire paint marker. And now I've got a couple of scraps of paint sticks, which is the same thing that I used to make the roofs, and I'm making a little overhang for my porch. Now these are little square wood pieces from Dollar Tree. They come in a pack of, I'm not sure, 50 maybe. And I'm going to create a different kind of stoop that will also support my porch roof. So coming back in, creating those panels on the window, and now I'm creating another little embellishment. So this is another piece of the tongue depressor stick, and coming in with a fine point marker that is in a dark pink tone. Can you guys guess what I'm writing on this? If you've watched some of my recent videos, you might know exactly what it is that this is going to be saying, because I have created a little mini wreath out of some scrap deco mesh, and I'm coming in with some ribbon. This is just regular curly ribbon that you might put on a birthday package, and making it part of my little ribbon wreath here. So gonna place my little sign right in the middle of my wreath and secure that with some hot glue. So if you can't read it, because I'm not sure, it might be too small, but it says tickled pink for Christmas. So just giving a nod to a project that I did recently. So coming in and securing my little stoop, and now I'm measuring one of these skewers again to determine how long they need to be. I am actually this time, instead of doing molding, I'm creating little shutters to go on either side of the door. So if you think about old-fashioned doors, they had working shutters that would cover the doors. So that is what I created there. And sorry, my big head is getting in the way. I was having trouble seeing. So, just something different. And now I am using one of those little beads again. I had painted this one silver and applying that to my little door. And just touching up the silver a little bit. And now using my white acrylic paint marker for the stoop, and then also for my porch, I'm painting the underside white as well as the trim that'll show on the outside. And then I'll come back in and I'll do the outside black. But for now, I'm painting my porch posts white as well. And here you see me coming back in with the black for the roof. So once that is all done and dry, I'm going to apply it to my little house. And first I'm going to make sure I know where the little skewers need to go. So I went ahead and glued them on with the CA glue, and you can see that that stuck pretty quick. You know, a little teeny drop, set it down there, I held it for a couple of seconds, and then it was good to go. So applying a little teeny bit of glue here, and it looks, when I'm watching this back, it looks like I'm applying it all along that edge. I am not. I applied a tiny little dot and just slid it up. I wasn't touching when I slid it, but I moved up another little dot, just one little dot of glue for every square inch. So now I have another piece of skewer. I kind of cut it so that it was pointy so I could kind of jab it in there in the little gap that there was there, trimmed it off, and that is my wreath holder. So I created some more windows that were an appropriate size for this little house, and I'm attaching those as well. These little minis make me so happy. So I've got another kind of Dollar Tree ribbon that I'm coming in with now. This is just silver and blingy, and I'm going to secure it to one end of my post, and I'm going to curl it around and wrap it up my post and make this nice and festive as well. I'm going to secure it with a little bit of hot glue so it goes where I want it. And make it nice and drapey across the roof line. And then I'm going to come back around and drape it around my other post and then secure it at the bottom with some more hot glue. So for this project, I am using these little tiny wood blocks from the Dollar Tree. They came in a pack of, I'm not even sure how many, a whole bunch. I have some popsicle sticks, and now I'm using the thick STARBOND CA glue. Now CA glue, I learned, is just another word for super glue, and STARBOND has sent me a bunch of different glues to try out for you guys, and I'm really enjoying them. I'm showing you right there the little bag that came with it. This is how it was packaged, this little box. It had all of these little tiny detailed nozzles. So if you have a project where you're trying to get in just a teeny tiny bit of glue, they provided all these little nozzles for us. Now, I don't need those for today's project, but I do need that as the cap that I'm going to be using afterwards. It's got like a little pin in it, but it's all like concealed inside that red little cap, if you will, so no chance of poking yourself, which is good. So here is the nozzle that also came with it, and I'm going to open up the glue, put on my nozzle, and then you just clip off the nozzle and you are good to go with your glue. Now this is the thick, with the thick version of their glue. They have a thin, a medium, and a thick. And you can see I'm putting this on real heavy, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But the thick is supposed to give you a little bit of extra time to work with your project before the bond sets. So I was finding if I held it for about 30 seconds, I was good. Now, I did not read the instructions before I started doing this, and I couldn't understand why my little blocks weren't sticking properly. And it's because you only need a single drop of this for every 1 square inch of your project. So you can see it's not sticking because I put way too much glue on here. Eventually, I did check out the instructions and figured it out, and it started working wonderfully. So only need a single drop. And so this little bottle is going to last me quite a while using a single drop at a time, right? So here I am, finally, I'm like, okay, one little drop, and put down my popsicle stick. So I did that. I've got my 4 little base blocks, and now I am putting down 3 popsicle sticks on my base. And then I'm going to be coming in, I'm cutting a popsicle stick in half, and I'm going to use that as a base for 3 additional popsicle sticks. Have you figured out what I'm making yet? This is going to be part of my mini series. If you've been watching my videos, you know I am in the process of building or constructing a Christmas or holiday winter village. So with each of my videos now through the holidays, I am doing at least one mini project to add to my winter village. So I am building a little bench for this one. So now I don't want people like sitting straight up, you know, your bench back usually has a little bit of a slant to it. So I cut off a little tiny piece of another popsicle stick, and you can see me adding it to the top of the block, so near where the seat part is. Again, just a single little drop is all that's needed, and that's going to help me provide, and you can see how I'm able to work with it, right? Because this glue, because I'm using the thick, and it gives me about 30 seconds before it starts really setting, I was able to work with it a little bit more and put it where I wanted it, rather than it just automatically adhering the second that it touched the surface, right? So, but that's going to give me the angle I want. Ooh, there I am. See there? So that it's not like straight. So it's going to look a little bit more realistic. So again, applying just a single dot of glue in the two spots where I need it to be secured, and going to go ahead and add the back of my bench. And I'm setting it down on the table so I can make sure that everything is even and straight. And there we go. Look at how cute. I love miniature little things. So I'm coming in with my Waverly chalk paint in Fern, and I'm just going to give this a nice good coat. I did a single coat of this for my bench, so I've got a little green park bench for my winter village. Let me know what you think. Another inspiration picture for you. This is from the City Lights collection. My sister sent this to me and thought it might be nice for one of my little miniatures. So I've got the remnant of a floral pick there that I was showing you, and this is a Dollar Tree string of LED lights, and we're going to create this little tree. I will admit this was a little bit tedious. So you definitely need to have a little bit of patience if you're going to attempt this. But essentially I came in with some floral tape, so you can see me with it there. And I am going to use the floral tape to attach this light to our floral pick stem. And I'm going to work it in such a way, hopefully you can see this here, where I'm allowing the bends in the lights. So how do I explain this? With each of these little LED lights, you can see there are two parts of the wire coming into them, right? So I was using the lights, that natural bend, to create the tips of my tree branches. So can you see how that works? And so now I'm going to come back in and I'm going to go over every single wire with the floral tape, just to make it nice and uniform and make sure all of my wires are covered, because right now each of those branches is two wires with a little light on the end. Hopefully that's making sense, but as I said, it's a little bit tedious, but this is going to be part of my winter village, my Christmas village that I've been talking about. So as you know, if you've been watching my videos, I am going to be doing at least one miniature in each of my videos leading up to the holidays, so that we can construct a Christmas village or a winter village. I slowed it down here a little bit so you can see exactly what I'm doing as I go up and down each of these little branches. And I found it was easier if I pulled off a strip of the floral tape and just worked with, you know, about 18 inches of it at a time. So I just used multiple pieces of the floral tape to get this done. And just wanted to make sure that everything, as I mentioned, was wrapped and uniform, so it all looked nice and neat and like a little tree. And to be honest, I did not know if this was going to work out when I started this project, and I was really, really pleasantly surprised with the results. So I'm really proud of my little tree. I thought it turned out really super cute. But here I am just wrapping up the end of that little tree, and you can see my little branches, and now they are a little bit pliable and I can kind of bend them the way I want them. And I just thought that this was adorable. So now I'm taking, this is like a little mini pot from a little thing that I'd gotten at the Dollar Tree. Oh my goodness, succulent. I had a succulent and there we are all lit up. So I just tucked my little tree into the succulent pot and I am good to go. So I'm taking, actually these are a project that I did back for Halloween, but I'm using this to kind of serve as a riser for my little houses. And this batting, you guys, it has seen better days. I honestly have no idea what I did to it. I pulled it out of my storage and yeah, I can't even tell you what I did to it, but I'm working with what I have, okay? I didn't have time to run out to the store to get new batting. So working with what I have, that's kind of the theme of 2020, right? So I had set up my little risers, if you will, underneath the batting, covered that up, and now I'm placing our houses on top of those little risers, for lack of a better term. Now, I didn't have something, or at least I didn't take the time to try and come up with something to go straight across the back. If you have something solid and you want to have it with this height in the back of your village, I'd highly recommend something that is going to go straight across the back, and you will see why in just a minute. Now, I was taking advantage of the fact that my batting was all ripped, and I was able to place my little pond, my resin pond, in that space. And I am now cutting off another piece of the batting at one of the outer edges, because I'm finding that I need a little help in certain places as I try to manipulate the shape of the batting and how it's laying. And I don't mind all of it because, you know, obviously we have snow drifts and things of that nature, but it was just bunching up so much that I wasn't able to cover as much of the surface as I wanted to be able to cover. So I went ahead and did that and kind of pieced it together. Now I have a little mirror from the Dollar Tree. I figured I would but I wanted another little water element. And I actually did want to show you that if you don't want to work with resin, or you don't have, and resin can be a little bit pricey. I just recently discovered that because this was the first project I did with resin. And I think it was like $25 for the little kit that I got, which would be enough to do 3 of those little ponds, just to give you an idea of how much it would cover. So mirrors work perfectly fine, as you can see right there. So now I'm coming in with my little tree that I had made out of the Dollar Tree string of lights, the little LED lights, and I'm tucking that in there. And it is standing up straight. The camera angle makes it look like it's kind of crooked, but I'll be able to show you later that it actually is standing up straight. I'm coming in with my little mini snowman and my bench. And I'm still kind of thinking through how I want all of this set up and trying to figure out where I want to place my street sign. Now remember, there is a void underneath the snow in between each of these houses. So, and my little sign didn't want to sit properly on the snow, if you will, on the batting itself. So I had to kind of find a little hole in the batting. So those holes are actually helping me here and there. So found a little spot for that. Coming in with some of those Dollar Tree little pine trees, and again, void under there. Aside from the fact that the batting doesn't really make it super stable, but they kept falling over on me, and I finally decided it was futile. So I pulled those off of there, and I'm trying to decide where I want to put them, and just not really coming up with very many good ideas. I did go ahead and think, okay, well, maybe I can line the little yard of my red house. So I started putting them along on the yard, and I still wasn't really super happy with it, but this is my creative process. So I'm also coming in with a bunch of these little miniatures from the Dollar Tree. They have all kinds of different little things that you can pick up. These are little guys throwing snowballs. And I had this other little piece that was like a hedge. So I'm replacing my little trees here with the hedge and the little lanterns, I guess. So I thought that actually looked really cute. And here I am again trying to come in with a little Christmas tree from the Dollar Tree that came with those. And again, I was like, you know what? I'm trying to force something that is just not going to happen. So what did I do? I pulled the whole thing apart and I start over. So I know sometimes you all say you appreciate seeing my mistakes. So I'm leaving them all in. This is real, you guys. This is exactly how I set all of this up. The only editing I've done to this video is where I had big gaps when I went to try and find something that I needed for the village. So this is really what my process was. And so you're seeing my challenges as I work through them. So I pulled everything out of the way and I'm putting down my snow again. And I apologize for the lighting. I'm not sure what's going on with the lighting. I don't know if things are reflecting off the pond and the mirror here and there or what, but I apologize for that. So coming back in, rearranging the snow around my pond. And I'm just stretching that piece of batting a little bit to help it do what I want it to do. And placing my other little water element down as well. What do you guys use for snow when you set up winter villages? Do you use batting as well, or do you have some other neat trick? I would love to hear what you all use if you use something else. So coming in with my little tree again, and I don't like the base showing on this, so I'm going to trim off another little piece of the batting that is off screen, and I'm going to come in with that and wrap it around my base to camouflage my my little tree so that it just looks like it's snow covered. And again, it does look like it's kind of crooked there, but it actually is standing up straight, and I'll be coming in at the end and giving you a close-up look at everything and the final reveal, if you will. So you'll see it actually is standing up straight. Coming back in with the bridge that we built, coming in with the red house with those little hedges. I really did like the way that those fit on there. It was almost like they were made for that little house, the way that I had done that front yard. So that was perfect. I was happy with that. And then I've got my little miniature snowman, but you know, with this little mini village, he's like giant. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, the scale with everything as I'm doing this as well, and figuring out where he should be, and maybe he should be closer to the front of the village so that, you know, with the perspective, the houses look further in the distance. You know, this is the way my mind goes. So yeah, call me a little crazy, but this is just my thought process. So still trying to figure out where I want the little street sign, and yeah, just set it there for right now. So now I'm coming in with some carolers, trying to decide where I want them. I don't want their backs to everyone, so I put them on the other side. And now I have my little bench. I'm going to put him over by the snowman because, again, the bench was a little bit large by comparison with the rest of the elements here. So I just wanted to make sure that it didn't look completely weird. And you know, I am definitely a klutz, so I keep knocking things over as I go here, but I managed eventually. So these are my little Dollar Tree pine trees, and I'm just using them as a hedge, and forgive me because the little street sign and the snowman are in the way of the picture, but just creating a little hedge on either side of the house with the little pine trees. And I thought that was actually really cute, the way that it turned out. And now it would not be complete without a little red truck. So our other house has a little red truck with a camper parked on the side yard or the street. I'm not sure. Everything is snow covered. So now I've these little Dollar Tree lampposts. They did not want to stand on the snow at all. So that was something I was going to have to figure out. I've got a little bit of a bench, and I've got a little Frosty the Snowman and a Santa Claus that I'm coming in with, and they're down on the sidewalk. And then finally with these little lampposts, I just had to kind of make another little hole in my batting so that they would stand up properly, because they will stand on a flat surface. They just have such a tiny little base that they did not want to stand on the snow. So trying to figure out again what I want to do with my snowman and my street sign, and I felt like that water element was just not in the right place, so I'm moving it closer to the camera, and it won't be the last time that I move it, guys, sorry. But trying to figure out where I want to have everything placed, just so that it makes sense, at least in my brain. So, and you can see I've got a little bit of a gap there at the front. I was struggling with getting the batting to set up where I wanted it, so I'm trying to manipulate that as well. Working on that other little lamp post. And I had decided to move the water element out further, and I've got the snowman. Unfortunately he's off camera right now, apologies for that, but I decided, you know what, maybe I'll put them back over on the other side a little ways out, and creating a little hole for my street sign so it can stand up properly. And then ultimately I decided that I didn't really like them that far out. So you could see I had just tucked another little piece of the batting in the front there. I just kept trimming off pieces from the edges and placing them where I wanted them. So obviously you can see I'm now bringing my water element back in closer along with my little bench, just readjusting everything here, getting it to a place where I'm satisfied with how it looks. I moved my little snowman back in. He needed a little bit of a flat surface as well, so just had to manipulate the snow for him as well. And decided I wanted my water element kind of tucked into the snow a little bit more rather than just sitting on top of it. So that's what I did there, and there you have it. Okay, everybody, that's it for today. If you enjoyed the project, I hope you'll give me a big thumbs up, and please do subscribe and hit that little bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Take good care. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.